the return of Mass Effect, Liban. We saw the reveal trailer. It was a little tease just to show all the audience around the world that Mass Effect is not dead. It is still alive. And this was just a little tease as to what we're going to maybe get for Mass Effect 4. I'm assuming this is Mass Effect 4. It's not a sequel to Andromeda. This is the Shepard storyline, but we don't know any details about this just yet. But it's clearly Shepard because we'll see in a little bit of this trailer. Liara T'Soni appears. That's when I totally freaked out. And we see the N7 armor, which is clearly Shepard's armor. It's a really nice little teaser trailer though. You see that was the Citadel there blown to shit. All this kind of space imagery. It's just very, very cryptic, but there's lots to kind of unpack and try and pick out detail wise. But I have no idea when this is coming out. It's obviously a teaser trailer. This could be like a 2022-23 game quite easily. I have no idea.
I would say maybe 22 at the earliest. Disclaimer, first and foremost, I've only played bits and pieces of Mass Effect in general.
Okay.
Like when they announced the edition, which had 1, 2, and 3 in it.
Is that the new remaster that's coming?
Yes. So that will be me for a couple of months. You might not hear from me. Just gonna knuckle down and play that. But so they're looking at the armor. There was this shot of that female character, the blue one,
Liara T'Soni. Yep.
I know. All right. So Liara, yep. So she I think she was picking up. What was she picking up from the ground?
It's a piece of Shepard's armor. It had N7 on it, which is his armor.
It makes me think that they're looking for Shepard in Mass Effect 4. It could be, that's just a general kind of look, understanding from me. It looks like they might be going around the galaxy actually looking for Shepard this time. So I don't think you'll be actually playing as Shepard in this game. It'll be a different character, maybe closely related to Shepard. You might be playing as one of the previous characters looking for Shepard.
That'd be really interesting, actually. I've now got this image in my head of Shepard being like an old crotchety hermit like Luke Skywalker in Episode 9, off on an island drinking blue milk, and then you've got to find his location. You're basically the Rey character trying to find Shepard.
Yeah. So here she is. So she just flew down to this planet. Maybe she got some information that he was Shepard was here at some point. Or maybe, so I think you might actually end up playing as her, to be fair. And you're looking for Shepard.
I would freaking love that. I would love to play as Liara T'Soni because she is a fan favorite of mine for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go into it because you haven't played the original trilogy, Liban. I'm not going to say anything spoilery about it. But Mass Effect 2 had an expansion pack on the 360 called The Lair of the Shadow Broker. That won't mean anything to you just yet, but when you're playing Mass Effect 2, and even Mass Effect 1, Shadow Broker is referred to as a character, a shady character. And then when you get to that expansion pack, it is the best expansion pack of a video game I have ever played.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It is so good because it does exactly what an expansion pack should do. And it expands on threads that are hinted at in previous games, and then it gives this full-blown expansion experience with and brings back some characters and gives more insight into other characters that are hinted at in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2. And I can only assume that all of that DLC is going to get packaged up as a bundle for the trilogy remaster whenever that's coming out. But
yeah, I mean,
if we get to finally play as Liara, so good. So good.
Ideally, that's what you want an expansion pack to do.
Yeah.
Just to wrap everything up in a nice, with a nice little bow.
Yeah.
Tying up all storylines.
Yeah, totally.
But I think just for me, just looking at the trailer from an outside perspective and just some of the details you're giving me, that's the conclusion I come to.
Yeah.
You're actually looking for Shepard and you might play as her. Or they might have shown her, particularly because, as you mentioned, she's a pretty popular character.
Yeah.
So people. But then again, if you show Shepard, people would be just as hyped.
They
right?
totally
So
would. They absolutely would.
I
Yeah.
show her and not Shepard instead. So, which makes me think that there's a bigger narrative happening
Yeah.
there.
Mass
regarding
Effect
Shepard.
2, man.
Yeah.
Mass Effect 2 is a game that is so beloved as really the best in the series.
Mm-hmm.
But BioWare's ability to create characters, a cast of characters that fans are so precious of and fall so in love with, and they're so well written. I don't want to obviously mention any because you haven't played Mass Effect, but Morden was probably my favorite, and you'll experience him when your time comes. But it's filled with others. I mean, even the Dragon Age series, of which Dragon Age 4 was teased as well. I'm not familiar enough with Dragon Age to really talk about that, but I'm familiar with some of the characters, and I know how beloved they are. And BioWare, when they're on it, when they fucking nail it, they can create some incredible characters and some incredible relationships and stories. And Mass Effect for me was the pinnacle of that. And that Mass Effect always felt like the true evolution of Knights of the Old Republic, because Knights of the Old Republic 1 was from BioWare, and then it's got that similar kind of structure, that party system and everything, but then they took it to the Xbox 360. They had a brand new engine, it looked phenomenal, and it was everything Star Wars apart from Jedis and lightsabers and the Force, but everything else was Star Wars pretty much. And that was the magnetism of Mass Effect, and I hope they can bring that feeling back for Mass Effect 4 or Andromeda 2 or whatever this is going to be. But
so in that case, obviously you speak so passionately about it, and I feel it. So the question, so then in that case, what went wrong with 3? In this case, that like when they went from 1 and they went to 2, I was like, whoa, like it's amazing.
Here's the thing. So Mass Effect 3 for me was incredible.
Okay.
It was incredible because it was giving you the payoff of all of the decisions you'd made in the first 2 games, and they were coming to fruition in the 3rd game. All of those relationships that I had forged from Mass Effect 1 all the way through into the 3rd game were coming to fruition. And it was incredible to see that these decisions that I had made in Mass Effect 1 were getting referenced in some way, whether they were high impact or low impact, didn't really matter, but they were referenced there. So the big story moments in Mass Effect 1 were getting referenced in Mass Effect 3, and it was incredible. The tiny, kind of almost insignificant moments in Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2 were also getting referenced, and those choices were getting brought through into Mass Effect 3, and it was incredible. And I loved Mass Effect 3 right up until the final 10-15 minutes, which was such garbage. And that is why Mass Effect 3 has such stigma to it.
Yeah.
And you'll find out why when you eventually get to play it. Because it ultimately came down to make a choice of 3 choices at the very end of the game to get the ending you kind of want.
Yeah.
And that felt like a slap in the face from all of the decisions I had crafted since Mass Effect 1 and 2 and then into 3. It was already giving me all those decisions paying off. And then it does this thing at the end where you have to make a 1, 2, or 3 decision, and I fucking hated that. And that was what left the bad taste in my mouth for Mass Effect 3. But up until that point, maybe like 40, 50 hours of that game I played, I think that was roughly the length of it. I think you can play you could obviously fill that out. I think there was a multiplayer mode as well, which was actually really good. But everything up until then, I thought this is the perfect finale to this trilogy. It is so incredible to seeing these characters in Mass Effect 1, how they've evolved and how they've grown into something that is so core to their story arc in Mass Effect 3 was incredible. And I still stand by that. But then you get to the very end and it's just this scene at the end, this kind of encounter at the end is just shit, to be honest. And they did try and fix it with some DLC, like much later on, which I'm sure will be bundled up as well.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
that was the only kind of real bit about Mass Effect 3 which leaves that horrible taste in your mouth. Because up until then, it is damn near perfect. It is damn near perfect in terms of its narrative threads really paying off. And it's just a shame that that's the kind of the thing that people latch onto is this bit at the very, very end where you're thinking, really, that's what it comes down to? But up until then, like the previous 50 hours were incredible, absolutely incredible. So
Yeah, I think the key word there is, I think the key word there as well, especially, is trilogy. You know, because
yes,
you mentioned,
yeah,
you spoke about, obviously everything comes to a clash in
yeah,
Mass Effect 3. It wraps it all up, which makes me assume in Mass Effect 4 they go in a different direction completely. You
yeah.
know, because if 3 ended that storyline, then 4 is going to start something completely different.
Could do, yeah. I mean, Andromeda was supposed to be the start of a new trilogy, but because that kind of bombed, then it's now in purgatory as well. With no idea if an Andromeda continuation is actually going to happen, which is a real shame. Because if you go back and play Andromeda now, it's they fixed everything. They patched it for the One X at the time, so graphics look amazing on the One X. It's just a real shame that it came out. It was in a bit of a buggy state. People, we were getting laughed at for facial animations and for weird like characters that walk as if they're crouched and a lot of bugs. And it also came out in a year when Horizon Zero Dawn had come out. It was post Witcher 3. Witcher 3 came out in 15. This was in 17. So the expectations of open worlds had changed because Witcher had come and gone.
Yeah.
The same year, Breath of the Wild had just came out like 10 days before,
Oh my God.
or roughly there. So
Yeah.
it's in this position where they tried to capture the feeling of the original Mass Effect trilogy, but the expectation of open world games was getting moved forward by The Witcher, by Horizon Zero Dawn, by Breath of the Wild.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
Andromeda was kind of like, oh shit, we did one, like we did an Xbox 360 game, but with newer graphics and more bugs. Sorry guys, but which is a real shame because the writing in that game is actually fantastic and the characters are really good as well. It's really strong BioWare characters, and they did something really interesting with the narrative. You basically have to terraform these planets to create a new civilization. So there's a lot of things there which could have been fantastic and a new start, but there's a lot of issues, and then compound that with the audience that it has been dropped into as well with Breath of the Wild, the peers of open world games at the time, it just got hammered, which is a real shame because it is a worthy Mass Effect game, but it just came out in not a good state,
Yeah.
which is
Not
a
a good
real
stay.
real shame.
Probably not a good time either.
Yeah. So